One. We are absolutely live. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Back on Track. I'm your host, Brother Ghazi, podcast dedicated to bringing forth stories and experiences that are absolutely guaranteed to empower, inspire, and impact you in the most serious way. And today we have with us my dear sister, my little big sister from the Windy City, my Sister Tayla X. How are you, Sister Tayla?
And I am doing so well. Thank you, first of all, for having me on. I feel very honored to be here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, absolutely. So when I listened to your story, some of the things that you shared with me about your life and your stories, I was somewhat amazed, and because I understand that the power of mothers, you shared a lot with me, but the part
Yeah.
about your relationship with your mother really got me. I've gone through something similar, a somewhat similar experience with my mother, but also going through a period of atonement, and
Mm.
in Islam, we taught that who should you honor next to God and His Messenger, and the response is your mother.
Mm.
And then they say, who should you honor? Man asked Prophet Muhammad, who should you honor outside of God and His Messenger? He said, your mother. And then he asked him again, who should you honor next? He said, your mother. And as who should you honor next? Then it was your father. But it was your mother
Wow.
twice before it was your father to show you the power of honoring, your mother. But we're gonna get into that because I have some questions and some caveats to that. Is that absolute? Is that something that could be shifted? And we got Sister Clarion saying Assalamu alaikum from Kingston, Jamaica.
Walaikum salam.
Peace, my sister. Yep. So okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about your story and your upbringing. Who are you? Who is the Tayla X and where you from? And let's talk a little bit about your story a little bit.
Well, so I was born and mostly raised in Chicago or the Chicago suburbs. I grew up in a two-parent household for the most part, all the way up until I was 14 years old, and then once the man in the house fell, everything crumbled with it. So I did a lot of bouncing around after that, living with different friends, um, living like not in a home at all. We were homeless for a while, and then eventually I got settled once I had my firstborn, which he's 7 years old now. So I finally stopped all the bouncing around once I had him.
Okay. And so you say the man fell. Can like on what you talking about your father, right?
Yeah, my father was the provider of the household. He has four children and then his wife. His wife did work part-time, which is my mom. She did work part-time here and there, but for the most part, he was the provider and he did not take care of himself health-wise. So he had a total of three strokes, and not like all the same day. They happened. One happened when I was a little girl, like maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I remember them having to carry him out the house. And then another one happened shortly after that, and then the third one, that's the one that started the crumbling at the foundation of our home. And he lost mobility, so he was paralyzed on the left side. He popped a blood vessel in his brain, which caused him to lose his speech, among other things. So after that time, he was just in a coma, not able to work and things like that. And then that led us to lose our house. My mother never went back to work after that for whatever reason. We were homeless as little girls, me and my little sister. And yeah, we did a lot of sleeping in cars, on the Greyhound, train stations, hotels, man, wherever we could find to sleep at night. And this was actually during my freshman year of high school. So I was the star student in the family in general, and I always loved school. I always loved school. I sit at the front of the class and everything. And once that happened, teachers and everyone could just see the changes that I couldn't even see myself. They were wondering, like, why is she acting out? What's going on? What is going on? But the reality is, I mean, I just spent the night in a SUV next to my sister who's sleeping in a car seat. And then early in the morning, my mom takes us to McDonald's to brush our teeth and wash up, and we have to go to school and pretend like nothing's going on. So that affected me, and I didn't even know that it was affecting me.
Wow, that's powerful. And okay, so we're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into this, and I'm gonna tell you. I remember a time, and my older children can attest to this. Years ago, I was a single father, and I was raising my 3 sons and my daughter, and it was right in between. I was about to get up out of one apartment, about a one lease, and going into another one, but the new one wouldn't be ready for like a month and a half or something like that. And I wound up didn't even getting that. But during that time, we went through a period of homelessness. You know how like on the movie with Will Smith,
The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yes,
yeah, I never seen it, but I know what you mean.
Anytime I think about that more, I think about my children, because I had a Lincoln at that time, and I had a futon mattress, and I folded up in the Lincoln. It was one of the old school Lincolns with the big trunks in it. I would fold the futon mattress and pillows up in the I would fold the futon mattress and the pillows up in the trunk. And it was friends of mine who worked on buildings. And so we would stay in these buildings that they worked on, these houses. They was vacant. Like, wasn't nobody in. They was fixing them up for people. They would give me the key, and I would go in there at nighttime, and I would have my switchblade, and my faith. I had my prayer, but I had my switchblade too. We was in a rough neighborhood. And I remember them waking up sometimes eating like like honey buns and donuts for breakfast and sun-kissed juice, and and then I would do the same, wash their face in cold water, and every 3-4 days I get a little money, and we get a hotel, I give them a nice bath and things like that, But that was a heck of a time, and my children, they older now, and they remember that. But we came up out of that situation with prayer, and we came by that situation with actually my first home, and came from that to come into my first home, and it was a very humbling experience. So let me ask you, during this time here, so we know your father had the strokes, but let's talk about your mother though, and your relationship with your mother, and some of the things that, because you shared with me some powerful things that I think a lot of people need to hear, especially just young girls. A few weeks ago I interviewed Marky, and she talked about her relationship with her father, and her longing for him and his presence at a young age. And your story is somewhat opposite. This relationship, with your mother that was somewhat skewed, and your longing for her. So let's kind of talk about that.
Well, the reason why it was so opposite is because my father was, my entire family knows this, but it's like something that's supposed to be unsaid, but I was his favorite baby, right? So I was very spoiled. My little sister is 11 years after me. So for 11 years, I was his youngest, only girl. And literally we went on so many dates, movie dates, dinner. He would take me to, if I really liked the movie, he would take me to go see that movie 3 times if I asked for it. Like, I was so spoiled by him.
Right.
And once I became a teenager, now I'm trying to be rebellious. I'm trying to not be seen with my dad so much. Like, it was one time I snuck off to go to a party with some of my friends. He came in the party and grabbed me out by my ponytail. Like, he was not playing about his daughter.
Right.
And if only I had known that I was going to lose him, I would have held on to that for a little bit longer. But instead, I was trying to basically lean on my mom as much as possible, because I wanted to learn more about being a woman and being in a relationship, because I thought that's where you learn it from. As a girl, you would learn it from your mom. But when I was in 8th grade, I don't know what was going on, because I was so sheltered in the household where I didn't really know that they were broken up or whatever the case was. something happened between her and my dad, which led her to leave him for months. And she took my little sister with her, which my sister was probably like 2 years old at the time. I was 13 in eighth grade, and she went to go live with another man. And this is somebody that I guess she met at work, and it made my dad so sick, and he was so heartbroken that he stopped going to work. He stopped doing the things that he was usually doing. Um, and it was a start of the crumble of that foundation. But during the time where she lived with this other man, I was so rebellious and I wanted to leave. And I was just wondering, like, I have two older brothers as well. So I'm just wondering, why did you leave me in the house with these guys and not take me with you? Why did you take my little sister, but you didn't take me with you? And I didn't fully understand the story. I didn't know she was living with some other man. All I knew was that my mama moved out. I ain't seen her in days. And now, like, what is going on? So I'm just confused. And my dad, he did something, I think, to prove his point, because I was so rude to him by saying, I just want to be with my mom. I just want to be with my mom. Like, I don't really want to be here with you. I was one of those spoiled, sassy teenagers. So he did something to prove a point. He took me up to her job with like a little weekend bag. I had some clothes with me. He dropped me off at her job and he pulled off. So I sat there. I'm like, cool. I finally got what I wanted. I'm on my phone and chilling like a teenager would. And she is on the phone calling my dad back to back to back. Come and get her. Come and get her. Come and get her. And he never came back to get me. So she ended up taking me home with her that night when she got off of work. So that's when I realized her living situations was with another man. And I realized that it wasn't her friend. You know, when I seen some of the things that they were doing were adult things. At the time, as a teenager, I didn't know anything about, men and women relationships outside of my parents. So I was still kind of like naive and just kind of gullible, just believing what she was saying. But now as an adult, I know that that was not the case, that you were playing house with another man while, all your other kids are all over the place. You have 3 other children that you just left behind. So that did a number on my dad. When I came back home, he would like offer me money to show him where they lived. And I never showed him, but eventually he found out. And it just got really messy after that. Somehow he was able to get her to come back home. And she didn't talk to any of her children because she felt like we were choosing sides or something. I don't know. It was just very messy. And at that time, we were already so behind on bills that's what led to the eviction.
Wow. And so, okay, so that's a heavy time period right there. Very painful. And so we know how it affects your father. And you don't know the extent of the effect on your siblings, but how did that affect you emotionally in terms of your perception of your mother? How did it affect our relationship? Your father go drop you off at her job and she called and come back and get Tayla. And I don't want this girl to come get her. How did that affect you emotionally?
Well, that was the first time in my life where I ever felt abandoned. That was the very first time in my life where I ever felt abandoned and unwanted. And it also made me stop trusting her, but that didn't really happen until later because it was a pattern. Even after my dad got sick, when we finally, got a place and got stable, what the first thing she did was try to bring another man in. So I started realizing patterns, and as I got older, I realized that I just can't trust her. Not only can I not trust her, but I can't respect her as a woman or a mother because of the things she chose to do. So that was really hard for me to deal with, and it took a lot of time. It didn't happen just right away. It took a lot of time for me to accept her for who she was, right, and not be in denial anymore, and think what I wanted to think about my mom, how I wanted to view her. That wasn't the reality.
Right. And, that's very, very, very beautiful because oftentimes children, our first heroes is oftentimes our mother or our father. It's, somebody in the family, I mean, it's our first hero or shero. You know, that's the one we look up to, and you know, can't nobody beat my daddy. You know, can't nobody do this.
Yeah.
You know, can't nobody better than my mama. That's why back in the days when I was coming up, you say something about somebody's mom, them fighting words. You better
Yeah.
not say nothing about nobody's mama, man. Them straight up fighting words right now. You can talk about your daddy, your grandmama, and say something about your mama. It's on right now. You know, we ain't even waiting. It's on right now. You know, and that's to show you the perception that even children have of their mother. But when that perception is skewed, you know, you say that it's shifted your perception of her as a person. So here you are going through your teenage years, which is very formative in terms of developing your ideal about relationships, male-female connection, and your mother was doing what she was doing. At what point did your perception change, or has your perception changed now? Has it shifted, or is it still you still hold on to some of that?
Well, as far as me not trusting her anymore and not looking at her as a mother anymore, that happened once I had my son. So going back and forth with her through my teenage years, I had my son when I was 20. So once I became a mother, that's what changed the reality. I said, okay, I can never, if I'm putting myself in your shoes, I can never treat my son or daughter that way. It got more and it intensified when I had my daughter, because that was something even more special to me, because as women, when we have daughters, we actually carry 2 generations. You carry your daughter, and your daughter is born with all of the eggs that she'll ever have. So I carry my grandbabies as well. So I felt a very, very special connection with my with having a daughter and viewing her as a little girl, because you don't have memories of yourself as a baby. But it just made me think about how I should, how my parents should have treated me as a baby girl, and especially going through teenage years. I will always be by her side, and I just could never understand why she would disappear during those times.
Yeah, that's powerful. You okay?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yes, ma'am, that is. And you know, I'm gonna tell you. So I had a similar experience, and not quite like that, but some similar with my father. So I didn't know my father until I was 14 years old. I had never seen his face before, never seen a picture of him or none of that. But I remember growing up as a young boy, you know, you always, you know, you see, well, I come in a neighborhood where most of my friends didn't know their father. So it was normal to us then. Anybody, but the few people who did, their lifestyle was a little different. When they had their mom and their daddy there, you know, it was a little different. They was a little bit more structured, and you know, we were somewhat savages, you know, and I kind of envy, you know, like the people who had 2 parents in my neighborhood, they seemed to be doing a little bit better. That it was more affluent, it seemed like. So I used to always wonder, like, you know, well, I don't know my daddy. You know, I never asked about it because it was, you know, you hear stories and things like that, and but I had that longing on the inside of me, though. I always like, man, I want to know my daddy be. And that longing, I didn't know that it was that longing and that shaped my thinking, that when I did start having children, I was already shaped that I ain't gonna be nothing like that cat. I'm not giving my children. I'm gonna be there for them 1,000%. I'm gonna be there. My boys take their first step. We're gonna throw footballs together. We're gonna do this, that. So it was easy for me to become a single dad and get custody of all my children because I had that longing. So what I began to realize is sometimes things happen to us, and God permit things to happen to us to shape and mold us for a purpose far beyond what we can conceive. You know.
Yes.
Your mother doing that, you know, it did something to you. You know, it did something to you, right?
Yeah, it definitely did. And the crazy thing is, it's like me giving birth twice without having like that female support by me. People always think I'm crazy, but I've said it since Jaylani was born. I cannot wait for my baby to have babies. Like, I'm gonna rub your belly, just like what you were just saying. I want to play ball with my kids. Like, man, I want to rub my baby's belly. I want to talk to those babies in there and be there throughout the entire thing, because that's exactly what I did not get.
Wow, that's just amazing. And you know, I have a few grandchildren, and you know, I was there with, you know, my daughter. She had her baby, my first granddaughter. She had a granddaughter, and so I got a few grandsons. But my daughter Shakira, gave me a granddaughter, and I was there initially for the first phase. This was just recently during the COVID pandemic, So I was there. I took her to the hospital, and I was there walking around, walking the floor with her and things like that. She was cramping up, having them contractions, and I was holding her up, and I'm like, "Baby girl, you all right?" She's like, "Dad, I'm all right." I'm like, "Come on, girl, we're gonna get through it." And then, when it come down for delivery, mom come in, in that phase, I had to leave the hospital, but I was there for hours with her, and we talked the other day, and she say, "Man, I'm really grateful for that, Pop." I said, "I know," but to me, I'm just doing what I do. Like, it's my baby girl, she going through it, and I wanted to be there. So, I definitely know how that is. You just brought back memories to my own mind and my own experience. So, let's talk about the work you're doing right now, because that's an amazing story. Dealing with your mother and the perception you have of your mother, but it led you to a certain type of work that you're doing right now in life that I think is a remarkable connection. So let's talk about some of the things you're doing right now.
Man, Brother Ghazi, first of all, I didn't even see the connection until you said something. It's so crazy because I was feeling so passionate when I was pregnant with Jaylani, as far as like, I really wanted a midwife. I really wanted to go the natural route. I really wanted someone to advocate for me for the things that I needed, because unfortunately their father was not advocating for me. He did not know of the things that he should have been even advocating for. So it's crazy that you even mentioned the connection, because so basically I'm in classes right now to become a doula, which a doula is a birthing sister. She's not a certified nurse midwife, but she's a birthing sister, someone that would assist you in birth from beginning to end, to even after end. So what I'll be doing is helping moms from preconception care all the way up into postpartum care, because as women, that's just, first of all, we're vulnerable every single month. What we don't understand is that it's 40 weeks. They say it's 40 weeks that you're pregnant, because every single time you ovulate, that's what starts your day one. So whether you fertilize the egg or not, you ovulate every single month. So that's why I say preconception care is important, because we have to start taking care of our eggs and our bodies and our well-being before we even fertilize the egg. Women are so fragile, and I don't want to make it seem like it's weak, but it just is what it is. You're walking around with a womb that creates human life. That's something very precious. That's not something you should just have out there and be treating any kind of way. You should have an advocate with you at all times. So unfortunately, we want that from our parents, but it's not always the case. And one other thing I did want to say is that when I hear you talk about like being there for your daughters as a dad, it's so funny the way my story worked out, because my father was such a great man and father to me. He just didn't take care of himself health-wise. So if he was still here, I would have had all of that and more. I probably wouldn't be as damaged as I am, but the parent that I was left with was not the parent that I needed. So it's very funny how that worked out.
Wow. Yeah, that's a powerful story. So for those who are listening, understand, here's a young sister who grew up at a certain point in her life, early teenage years, 13. She developed a strained relationship with her mother, and they kind of, emotionally became disconnected. Mom started doing certain things, and Sistah Tayla had a certain perception. But then that longing, though, because it's a natural longing for a child to really, ain't not like mom. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you love your pop, but it's a connection. I mean, you're in the womb chilling for 9 months. Y'all got a special kind of bond. It ain't like, that bond ain't like no other bond, right? And so it's natural. But when that natural longing and that natural bond, when that tie becomes severed and it's interrupted for whatever reason, that connection between mother, the effects of that is devastating. Yeah. But you took that pain of going through that with your mother and you switch it around, and now it's a part of what you're doing in life, purpose-wise, to help other mothers make sure they got a healthy connection with their children. You see how we go through hell and we suffer, we go through pain. We don't know why we're going through it, but look at what you're doing right now because it hurt you so much. You wanted it so much. I'm committed, damn it, to helping other women make sure they got a right and proper connection with their child, nurturing them and loving them and embracing them. And you already holding your grandbaby. I can already see grandbabies already. I can see them. I can see grandbabies already.
Man, it's that before you even conceive care, like that is so important to us. And then, like you said, the connection with my mom, it's like, man, I really felt some type of way when I found out that you actually carry both of my babies that I have right now. You actually had a connection with them too, and they don't even know her. They don't know her at all. So my son asked me once before, he's like, do you have a mom? He loves me so much. And he's like, man, you got to be able to experience this. Like, do you have a mom? And I'm like, man, listen.
Wow. So right now, your mother, you and your mother relationship is still, but your mother's still living, right?
She's still living.
Does she live in the city you live in, or she lives somewhere else?
She's in a different state. She's in a completely different state.
And you all don't talk at all right now?
At all, Brother Ghazi. Completely living. Even though I said, my dad had this stroke when I was a teenager, he actually just passed away this year in May. So I just lost that parent, and the other one that's alive and, moving, talking, walking, and everything, I can't get a conversation out of her.
Wow. And so, I mean, is this something that you try to talk to her, or she just reject you? Or I don't want to talk to you. Is she just angry? Why do you, or are you just not even trying to talk to her at all? Is it you, or are you really trying to create a relationship, and establish some kind of communication?
Now, I think I have tried several times before I had my babies and after as well, especially after, because I really wanted them to know her. But she pushes her children away because it's an accountability thing. She doesn't want to face what she feel like she did wrong. And it's also stems from her relationship with her mother as well. So when I say that we carry trauma in our wombs and it really starts before you even conceive, that is so real, because whatever her mother went through while she was pregnant with her, and then afterwards, the treatment that she went through, she did not have the mother that I expect my mom to be. She didn't get that example from her own mom. So it's kind of unrealistic for me to think that she can be the best mom she can be when she didn't even get that. So I think that if she's just running from responsibility, I don't know how to really explain it. I guess she would be the best person to explain it, but I think that she's just lost.
Yeah. Well, sometimes have you heard the saying, hurt people,
Yeah.
and sometimes when, you go through things, if she was traumatized and didn't get it from her mother, of course, she have nothing in her in terms of an example of how to give it to you. And sometimes, we just repeat this cycle. But thank God that you saying, I'm breaking that damn cycle right there. Because too often we pass down the trauma and we pass down the drama, the drama and the trauma, to our children. And hopefully, somebody would say, I'm breaking the cycle. Because I know people, generations that, the mother was a teenage, the great grandma was a teenage mama, her daughter was a teenage mama, they baby was a teenage mama, and then she got a baby, she a teenage mama. And it's the same cycle all over again, over and over again. Let's see here. Sister Kamila Shabazz said, some mothers do not have the capacity to love because she experienced some things in her life. Also, she may not know how to nurture others. Just pray for her. That is so, so powerfully true. Some people just don't know how to do it, because none of us as parents, we don't come with no manual. We got no parent manual, like this is exactly how you be a father, this is how you be a mother. So we pretty much observe from our surroundings, the family we're around, the friends, the aunties and uncles and cousins and big mama, big dad, granddaddy and them, And so if their relationship is dysfunctional, oftentimes we grow up, that's the only, here we're gonna be dysfunctional unless we intervene with another experience, some more knowledge or something else. Other than that, we're gonna do the same thing that we see them doing.
That's so true. And that's what it was. I was rebellious as a child in general. So I feel like I carried on some of that and then turned it into some positive rebellion when I decided that I'm not going to do that. What you're telling me, I'm going to do the opposite. That was me for my entire life. And it still is to some extent. Like if something is trending or something is really popular, I'm going to wait till it died down. I ain't really interested right now. Like I do the opposite. So luckily for me in that situation, that actually worked out for me to do the exact opposite of what you just witnessed. Because I have been through similar situations with her where, for whatever reason, the father stopped paying the bills and stopped taking care of the house. But I could never let myself as a mom, I could never bring myself to let my baby sleep in a car. I could never bring myself to let them be homeless. And that's something that I would never be okay with. So luckily for me, I was able to really change the story and not continue the cycle.
Yes. And that's important. And what you just said is so profound because too often, because these were chapters 1, 2, and 3 of our family life, we just continue that same old madness in chapter 4, 5, and 6. But we have the ability during our time on this planet, we have the ability to rewrite the damn story. We the author of the book. We can rewrite the narrative. I know chapter 1, 2, and 3, we was crazy as hell. It was crack. It was imprisonment. It was gangsters. It was insanity. It was all that. But right now, I'm writing this chapter because I'm living this chapter right here. I'm rewriting this narrative right here, damn it. All that gave birth to a giant. All that gave birth to somebody who focus now. You know what I'm saying? Everybody out here, we have the power to rewrite the narrative. We ain't got to accept it like that. We ain't got
you don't have to accept it. Every single day you wake up, that could be a whole new chapter.
Right.
Every single day.
That's
you
right.
Start writing your chapter as soon as you wake up in the morning. This can be something completely different because I was not always like this at all.
Wow. And so what changed in you? Like, I mean, was it a spiritual awakening? Were you just dissatisfied? Like, what made you, like if you can remember when you start going in that direction to be a doula and to really go down that road, I mean, what shifted in you? Like, what took place?
Well, it's a combination of things because I was really in denial for a long time. Even after I had my son, I was still in denial as far as like where me and my mother's relationship could go. I was actually trying to get her to like come together. Let's get a house together and just, get back everything that we had lost. But it was not until something about having a daughter, and it was my birth experience as well, because my planned birth was actually to have a water birth with Jaylani in a birthing center, not in a hospital. So I would have been seeing these midwives my entire pregnancy. I planned to have a water birth, and my relationship with the father was so difficult that I was about to do that by myself. He was not even speaking to me an entire month, before my due date. He didn't start coming to me until my actual due date. My water had broke, and now he's like, okay, like, kind of like where you at. But I was ready to do it by myself. But something happened with that birth with Jaylani. So my water broke on a Saturday, but no contractions started for me. So I was already mentally prepared to have a natural birth because with my son, I just immediately jumped into getting the epidural because I thought that was just what moms do. But with Jaylani, I was already mentally prepared to have her naturally. So when my water broke, I'm waiting. I'm like excited. I'm like, okay, it's something about to happen. And my contractions never started. So then I went to see the midwives that night, and she told me that if your contractions don't start within the first 24 hours, then you can't give birth in the birthing center. You have to go to the hospital. So, man, that just sent me in a rage. I was so angry. I was ready to do it at home in my tub because I really did not want to be in a hospital. So I was talking to a sister who had given birth to all of her babies at home, and I had just met her through a birthing page on Facebook. And she was really like, man, you're so passionate about this. You should be a midwife. And I was like, really? Like, I'm so against hospitals and medicine because of everything that happened with my father, health wise. I was against the hospitals because of everything that happened with my son. He was actually injured by vaccines. So all of these things play a part in this. And when she said that, I was like, man, no, because I don't mess with the hospitals like that, and I don't want no part in that. But after I had Jaylani, just taking care of a baby girl and realizing how precious she is, she's 1 day old, carrying a womb, carrying the future generation inside of her, and that just something just snapped. And I couldn't take anymore. And actually, she's the reason why I finally left the abusive relationship that I was in, because it's like I cannot let my daughter grow up to think that this is what a woman is and how she should be treated. Right. So it's a combination of all those things, but Jaylani really changed my life.
Wow. And so how many children do you have? You have 2 children?
I have 2.
Okay.
One boy and girl? One girl. Yep.
Okay. So Jaylani is the youngest.
Yep. She's 2 years old.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's very, 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 very amazing. So when you gave birth to your daughter, it kind of shifted because you start thinking that, who she was. And I know, listening to a tape from the minister, from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, called How to Give Birth to a God. Mm. And I remember listening to them tapes, and he talked about the value. And he talked many times on the value of the womb of a woman. And he said that the womb of the woman was the laboratory of God. That's what God do is, he do his work in that womb. That's where all the great ones, all the prophets, all the people that's going to impact the world, they shaped and molded right in that laboratory right there in the womb of a woman, And so from the nation perspective, the woman is like that second self of God, and she's to be respected and honored. Now, I didn't grow up all the time looking at women like that, because we live in a society that objectifies and sexualizes women. And, most of us, we grow up, we influenced by society. We think the only objective of a woman is to have sex. Have sex, go cook me something. That's it.
Yeah.
But as we grow up as men and women, we shift our thinking, because some women got a bad perception of themselves. So how did your perception of yourself change? Because you grew up, you was your daddy was getting sick, your mother was, doing, what she was doing. Y'all had a bad relationship. How did you not, or did you fall in that category like the average young sister, where you was wild, you was promiscuous, you was drugging, you was in the party life? Did you go through that phase?
Hey, Brother Ghazi, before I had children, you'd be like, who is this? Who is this? Yeah, I did a lot of, not a lot of different drugs or anything. I did smoke weed since 8th grade. So that goes back to the beginning of that story. 8th grade, when I'm missing out on living with both my parents now. So I started, testing out some little weed here and there. Freshman year, that's the first time I started drinking. And I did that all the way up until, I guess when I got pregnant with Jaylani. I didn't abuse it as much once I had my son. I didn't abuse it as much. That really sat me down and got me out of the wild phase. But I still did not see the value in myself at that time. I still didn't see it. So, yeah, I definitely was pretty wild and just all over the place.
And do you think it would have been different had you and your mother relationship been somewhat different if she was that supportive, if she was that ideal mother that you had in your mind? Do you think your that phase of your life would have been somewhat different? I mean, you probably would still been rebellious, because children just go through that natural, rebellious phase. But, going through that phase absent that mother support and that mother love, man, that's a big thing right there. Do you think your life would have been different?
I definitely think so, because the way that the house just disappeared right in front of my eyes, the only reason I went to drugs and alcohol was to hide from my reality, from what we was really dealing with and what I did not want to face, what the family was dealing with. So like I said, I went from being a really spoiled little girl that had everything that she wanted. If you seen my room as a child, I literally had pink carpet, pink walls. Like I had Usher posters all around my room, bookshelf full of Cheetah Girl books, all of the clothes and shoes I ever wanted. My dad would come home with little bootleg DVDs of my favorite movies. I'm getting candy, cake. I was so spoiled. I went from all of that to literally in a second. Now you're living in a car and living out of your backpack. So now you only have as much as you can fit in your backpack. So it was really just me trying to escape my reality. That's when I started drinking and hanging with older people, because I didn't want to deal with those problems. But had my mother, because I was already such a mature person for my age, like I was already babysitting my little sister and watching her all of the time. But you had me watching her so that you can go out and escape your reality. She was doing the exact same thing. You're going chasing after different males. You're drinking and partying. But instead, you could have had me watching her so that we could keep income coming in. Both of my brothers were adults at that time. We could have really kept that house and that foundation. I feel like everything would have went differently for my dad, for everybody.
Wow.
So had she would have been a better example, even though that's unrealistic because of where she came from and how she was raised. But had she been that and followed a better path, then yeah, that would have shaped my whole future differently. I don't even know if we would have met. So I guess it's praise be to Allah that it did happen.
Yeah. Well, like it's a verse in the Bible and that says all things work for the good, right? Of those who trust in the Lord. And people, I hear people quote that. And it don't say most things. It don't say some things. It say all things work for the good. But the key is to trust in the Lord. It's a process there. And if we ask ourselves, or if we ask like the right questions, we'd be surprised what answers will come to our mind if we ask the question in the right spirit, like why? Why? Because sometimes, listen, I remember the day before I got sentenced as a teenager, I was in high school. The day before I got sentenced to 15, I thought I was going to spend the next 15 years in prison. I didn't do the whole time, but I did half of that, right? And but I remember the day that before I got sentenced, it was a brother was a correctional officer. He was a FOI, and he gave me the cassette tape of the minister. We had cassette tapes back in them days. Wasn't no CDs and none of that kind of stuff, right? And I listened to this message from the minister, from the minister Louis Farrakhan, and he said something that really stuck with my mind. He said, "We pray for what we want, but God knows best what we need." Right? Wow. And at that time, I was praying to get the hell up out of jail. I ain't want to go to no penitentiary. I'm praying like, "Oh God, help me." When you get in trouble, your prayers be sincere. You come up from your heart. If you get them one more time, I ain't gonna get no more trouble. You be lying, everything, right? And I wanted to get up out of there, but I wound up getting sentenced. I'm like, damn, what? And it was years later that, because that quote, what he said stood out in my mind. I remembered that. And now I look back many years later, I prayed for what I wanted, but God knows best what I needed. And now that experience going through prison and all that, it's shaped and molded my destiny. It's shaped and molded my purpose in life. Even though it was painful, I didn't want to go through it. It was straight hell. Ups and downs, 6 penitentiaries, solitary confinement for years, and all that. But it made me the kind of person that I am today. So it was almost like you got to go through that fire. You got to go through that fire to be shaped and molded to do something different.
That is.
Sincere say that you on fire, Sister Tayla.
Peace, brother Sincere.
And he say it's definitely relatable. He can relate to what you're saying. ABS in the digital building. Khadija Muhammad. Let me see. Sincere love and peace. Yeah. So let's get off into I met you through the through the ABS tribe. For those who don't know what the ABS is, we're gonna let my sister talk about it. But it's definitely our big brother, my little big brothers, brother Ben X and brother Jake Taylor. Very phenomenal young brothers. How'd you get involved with the ABS, and what's the connection with ABS and what you're doing with being a doula and helping other mothers and things like that?
Well, those brothers taught me so much. Like just from watching, just from witnessing how they move, I really look up to that. Like if there was no course and no class at all, and they just let us watch how they move, that would be a lesson in itself. Like, so they taught me to, give value. Like that was the one thing that I constantly think about. And I constantly think, how can I give back to my community? Because it wasn't until I had my son that I really started looking at the problems of the community, because I'm raising a black man here. Like you can't be blind to what's going on in America. You got a black son. So that really made me think of what can I do to help the community. I started, entirely, as much as I possibly can, black own this, black own that. So when I hear those brothers talk about value, I think about, okay, what does our community need? How many people have told me that they don't have a relationship with their mom? How many women have been in domestic violence relationships while being pregnant? How many women are getting are going through postpartum and getting brushed off like it's nothing? So that's something that really affects me, because I've been through A through Z. Like I can't think of one thing that I haven't been through, both pregnancies. So that's just something that they really brought to my attention. Like I need to be more valuable to these women, because I can sit around and cry all day about how I wish, my kids knew my mom, or I can use that and fuel me to really help and change somebody else's life and path, so that possibly the next generation doesn't have to go through the things like me and Brother Ghazi said, like the fire to get you to the other side. Like possibly maybe we won't have to, our children won't have to do that. Even if we have, possibly our children won't have to do that if we can fix that trauma that's in the womb, because we really carry that around with us.
Yeah. Well, our children, they're going to have their own experiences, right? But they shouldn't have the same experience that we have. So, as a parent, as a father, part of my objective is I want my children to, y'all have different kind of struggles. Hell, I don't want you to struggle the same way I struggle, struggle something new. I'm gonna let your struggle be on which land I'm gonna choose to purchase, whether it's gonna be here or in the motherland. I want a different kind of struggle for you. I don't want the same kind of struggles, because I pay the price for that, right? And if we give it to our children and teach them right and pass down, them nuggets to them, it'll be a greater example and a greater impact on them. But let me ask you something, because you said something that is key about stories, and it's for everybody listening. It's so much value in the stories that we have and our own experiences. Man, there's so much value. I'm talking about all of us. I don't care what the hell you've gone through, how much pain it was, how much suffering you went through, how many black eyes you had, how many days you cried about it, you were frustrated, disappointed, dissatisfied. It is so much value in that experience. That experience right there, the one you want to get away from, the one you're trying to escape, the one you're trying to smoke and drink your life away from. You don't want to pay attention to it. It's that experience right there that is rich with valuable lessons, that if you extract those lessons can absolutely transform your life. Very, 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 very powerful.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that they taught me too, because for a long time, I really, really kept quiet on these things. Like if it was not for Brother Ben and Brother Jake, nobody would know any of these things about me, because a lot of my closest friends do not even know that I was homeless my freshman year. I was truly going to school and keeping that a secret and just pretending like nothing was going on. So none of these stories would have gotten out. And it's already so many women that I have been able to impact just by talking. It's crazy. And I'm sitting here looking at myself like, no, man, don't say that. That's depressing. Don't nobody want to hear that. Like, why are you putting your burden off on other people? I really did not want to put stress off on other people by speaking my mind and speaking the truth.
Right. Absolutely. And it's something, Brother Willie. Thank you, Brother Willie. Keep grinding, my brother. I appreciate you, sir. It's something that what we see in our own stories. Sometimes we think it's a burden on people, but how people are, and I hear the old people say this all the time. You didn't go through that just for you. right? You didn't go through that trial and that test for you. You went through the test so it'd be a testimony for somebody else, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes we go through it and we hold it within ourselves and we refuse to testify because if I look at you, there's nowhere in the world I can tell. You know how they say you don't look like what you've been through. If I just
Yeah.
look at you, I wouldn't be able to tell you went through all that hell like that. So that
Can't.
means God has favored you. I mean, it's something in you, a strength in you that allow you to go through all that, and you still got a little sanity. I mean, you might be a little off, but you got, for the most part, you got your sanity, just a little bit, but you still sane and you focus and you helping people. You've been a mother in spite of all of that, and that's the story of Black people in America. In spite 400 years of lynchings,
Or
hanging, Jim
man,
Crowism, the Ku Klux Klan. In spite of all of that, we still here and have a semblance of trying to get some justice and trying to do something positive for ourselves. I mean, that's remarkable. Psychologists and sociologists study the Black man and woman of America. Like, how the hell they go through all this and they still have a heart to even want to love? Can we all just get along? If you even have that kind of heart, it's remarkable. It says something about who and what we are.
if we could really just focus on that part too, Brother Ghazi, like you know how in these public school systems, the first thing they teach you, the only thing you know about yourself is that you was a slave, and Abraham Lincoln said it's okay for you to be free now, supposedly free. But if we could really just focus on the fact that we did go through 400 years of that, and look where we are. Like, wow, Black people are still thriving after 400 years. Not one of us have lived to see 400 years old. So you know what that means. That's babies after babies after babies being born into slavery. And yet here we are still thriving. They still stealing ideas from us. They still trying to tap into our minds to tap into some of this melanin.
Right. Yeah.
That's the power right there. We can't stay stuck on the hurt. And we got to look at the full picture, the full journey.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing.
Yes, yes, ma'am. It absolutely is, and it's just a testimony because oftentimes we look at history from a group perspective. Like our people as a whole went through all that, and we still here. But some people on this call right now who are going to listen to this live, who listen to live, or who will listen to a replay, your own personal history, you've gone through a lot. You've
Yeah.
gone through a lot. But what was the end product of what you went through? And you can succumb, you can punk out, you can give up, you can quit, you can just give up on the struggle and say, well, damn it. It's too much pressure. I'm just going to quit. You can do that if you want to, or you can persist. You can consist. You can have faith. You can keep pushing on through it and watch what happened on the other end of that process right there. Let's see, my sister Camila Shabazz say, we may have had a bad beginning, but with the help of Allah, it is left up to us to have a good ending. Our duty is to be of help to others. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. No doubt. Yep. So right now, Sister Tayla, because my heart goes out when you talk about your connection with the mom, and it's still like that, right? Because I went through something similar with my mother. Our relationship was estranged, and I tell a story before. I went through a period where I actually hated my mother, and I held it in my heart. I didn't treat her bad or nothing like that, but in my heart, I felt like she abandoned me at a time when I really needed her, and things like that. I judged her or misjudged her, and I remember again, listening to the minister, the Alma Minister Louis Farrakhan, talking about that atonement piece, man, and that really did something to me because I wanted to atone, and I wanted to get that off and get that up off of me. I don't want to keep living like that and think like that about my mother. She gave birth to me, and
Yeah.
but atonement, that process is not for the person who wronged you. Atonement is for the person who's been wronged. It's for both parties, but the bigger lesson for the person who's been wronged. And sometimes when you go to a person and you want to atone and you want to set it right, we expect them to say, I'm sorry. We expect them to do certain things and all that. But I just want to get up off of me because I don't want it to imprison me. I don't want to, every time I think about my mother, it's something negative, it's something bad. No, I want to think about them good times. See, you remember the time when she was changing the dirty diapers and she was in the kitchen cooking your food and, cooking your favorite meal and, giving you some more of that pie and, giving you some cookies and taking you to the playground in the park and things like that. I want to go back to those memories, and even what appeared to be a bad experience, I want to be able to learn something from even that experience right there, so that I can be better by my children. It can be a better example that I can share with my children.
Yeah.
So what's your plans on, like, have you just given up on your mom right now? Do you just have you just said to hell with her? I'm not gonna deal with her. Is it in your heart to say I'm to keep on keeping on?
And it's funny that you said that, because when you mentioned the part where you were hating your mom, man, it just recently happened to me where, I lose my father in May. And man, it's terrible to think like this, but all I could think was, why did you choose this parent? Not that I would wish death on somebody, but damn, like, why would you choose to take him? And he's the most supportive parent I ever had. And she just gets to live her life. Oh man, I just went through that and I hate myself for those thoughts. But the atonement is so new to me that I still need to do that. I don't know how. Maybe you can help me after this call, but I don't know how. Like, I'm reading the steps, and since she's so uncooperative, like, I still need it for myself. But I've let go of any thoughts or desires of having any type of relationship with her. I've let go of that. Like, she's done enough harm. She's done more harm than good. So that's not what I want anymore. I want to heal myself so that I don't think like that anymore. So that I don't carry that with me and possibly push that off to my babies in some way. I will just like to heal myself.
Yeah,
And
that's
she
powerful.
needs to do that herself as well. But like, you cannot force people to do it on your time. So whenever that happens for her, it'll happen. But I need that for myself.
Yeah, it's powerful. And let me see, we got Tamara Threat. She said it's hard to let go of that hurt, especially by the people who created us, who we feel should love and support us the most. But healing only happens when we are able to forgive and move forward. I've been there too. When I was able to forgive, I was able to focus on building more positive connections with my own son. That's powerful. Yeah, that's powerful. You know. So just wow. Okay, so you've given up a desire to get into a relationship and things like that. But I would say to you, I would suggest to you that you don't just give up. Don't judge, but just keep trying, because you never know. I'm gonna tell you one thing that I have learned is, like, about my own life. So growing up, I was crazy as hell, and I don't know if I'm too sane now, but I know I was crazy as hell when I was younger, right? And I remember some of the. That's why I love the FOI. I just love the FOI, because my father, my uncle was the captain of the FOI when I was younger, and in St. Louis in Mosque 28, and my mother. I first went to the mosque. It was like a punishment, because my mother would call my uncle and she said, "You better come get this boy, because I'm gonna kill his ass." And I just stayed in so much, and I didn't play with my uncle and them. They were disciplinary, they were strict. I didn't play with I ain't play with the FOI back in them days. I ain't go there, right? So I would go around them, and I remember going in and out of juvenile, and it was a brother worked in a juvenile facility, and he would see me come back in juvenile. He would look at me like, "Brother, you back in here again?" And he was just telling me what the minister said. I'm like, "Man, but these niggas tripping out here, man. I'm a little thug." But one thing I remember is they never gave up. Never got to a point where they just wrote me off and say, "He ain't listening, he ain't responding, so the hell with that little brother. He a little thug, forget him." They always showed me love. They always, even if I didn't show myself love, even if I didn't show them no love and no respect, they always gave it to me, and it's something, because I look back on that now, years later, and it was that was shaping my heart to do something to me. You know what I'm saying? It made me a certain kind of way. It affected me a certain kind of way. So your continual love, just showing her, even if she don't know. That's why Closing the Gap is one of my favorite books, because when you read that book, Closing the Gap, the life of the minister, his interviews, like his experiences and what he went through, people was hating on him. Some of the family close, they was hating on him. But man, his response was always love, and his love for them outlasted their hatred for themselves and their hatred for him. It outlasted that. And his love eventually won through. At a certain point, they'd be like, man, all the hell I put my daughter through, she still love me. She still like mama. She still like this. Still like, so don't just completely give up. Just always have that love and just keep it going. You don't know how that's going to transform and affect her at the right moment, at the right time. God the best knower. If it ever do, it do. But at least you will have that loving heart and you will be more in alignment, with the will of God,
Man, thank you so much for that, Brother Gazi, because you are so right and exact. That is something that I'm still dealing with kind of right now. Like for me, it's always been an all or nothing type of thing. So I'm either all in or I'm all out. I either really love you or I can't stand you. So I need to work on myself still. That's why I said I'm still in the process. But the person that she is right now, it's hard for me to see like a brighter future in that. Like it's so hard, but everything is possible. So
so all you gotta do is, look with a spiritual eye. Think about this. 200 years ago, 100 years ago, do you think our ancestors saw a brighter future in this damn country? We was on cotton fields. We were hanging from trees. Our women was being raped. We were being lynched. We was being hunted down like dogs. Do you think at that point they seen the brighter future for us? Or did they all just want to just die here? They were fighting for it, but most of them didn't see like, man, how long is it going to last? Because when you're going through it, it's hard to see when you're going through it. You know what I'm saying? But then at some point, it's not spooky when they say let go and let God. At some point in the Holy Quran, they say that we got to take on God's color, Allah's perception, how he looking at things, how he see it. Because we may see it one way because of our pain. And pain and emotion will cause you to see it in a certain way. That's why you got the rise above emotions into the thinking of God, right? But when you're emotional and you've been hurt and you're in pain, hell, you're going to see it you're going to filter it through that pain, through that hurt. So hell, I don't see nothing good because it's all pain, hurt, disappointment, frustration, dissatisfaction, setbacks, failures. Hell, I can't see no good about it. But if you rise above that emotion and quit looking at it through that filter right there, you may look at it and be like, wow, I went through all of that. And this now I know why I went through that. Because look, everybody on this call, I'm quite sure all of us have gone through something. When we was going through it, we were like, God, pray. I hope this be over. I'm tired of this and that. But years later, you be like, damn, I went through that so that it can make me the kind of person right here. Your mother going through the same process. That ain't just true for you. That's true for your mother too. Look about the whole thing that she going through. What is it going to produce in her in the end result? How is it shaping and molding her heart and her spirit and things like that?
Yeah, that's
pray for you.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep at it too, and just leave the door open. Not necessarily pursue it, I guess, because I'm just not ready to constantly get those disappointments thrown at me. Yeah. But at least a door open is better than a door closed.
Yeah, and it's Tamara Threat said, yes, those trials are nothing but preparation. And Brother Charles said, good show. He's a student minister here, Brother Abdul Iman here in Phoenix, Arizona. So assalamu alaikum to my big brother there. And I'm gonna tell you, so I would just comment and caution when you say, you don't want to keep experiencing the rejections and things like that. Man, like we got to almost be supernatural when it comes to one another. In the scripture say, love your enemies, and we don't. The minister he make it clear on what the not your natural enemy. No, but the enemy that among ourselves that was created because of circumstances. Circumstances made us enemies to one another. Lack of knowledge, lack of love, lack of support. Self-hatred, miseducation. It made us enemies of one another, right? And sometimes to keep coming, I'm telling you, when you read that book, have you read the book Closing the Gap?
No, but I hear Brother Ben talk about it all the time.
You better go get that book. I'm telling you, you know what? When we got this call, we're gonna talk because that's gonna be my gift to you. I'm gonna gift you. I'm gonna order the book for you. I'm gonna give that's gonna be my gift to you because it's a very powerful book. It's very, very powerful. And when you read what the minister have gone through and how he responded, it's like supernatural almost, but it's natural, but it's supernatural to us who crazy as hell, but it's natural though, because love is such a powerful, powerful force. And you'd be surprised. And love don't do nothing and expect nothing in return. So you don't love your mother and expect her to give it back. That ain't the purpose of it. It's right. Just because of me, the God in me, just want to give you, I want to comfort you and help you heal. You, my mother, I want to help you heal. Whether you give it back or not, that's irrelevant. God, the best knower. I'm going to seek refuge in the God, right? But I'm going to give it to you constantly because I love you. I love you. Even if you don't love yourself, I love you. And that's what a real mother, when a mother in alignment with her nature and herself, that's what mothers do. Mothers love them crazy ass children all day with they crackhead. They done stole your money. They done cash your check. They done did everything. And a mama be like, that's my boy though. I love him, man. I'm still there with him. It's something about that mother love. And in the society, unfortunately, it's disrupted and disconnected. And, we've been other than ourselves and taken all the way out of our nature. So we're not acting like that all the time. But I'm talking about that pure mother love is some powerful stuff, and maybe you got to be an example to your mother. See, sometimes our children can be an example for us as parents. You looking for her to be your example, but maybe God took you through it so you can go back and reach in and say, look, mom, this is because you're a totally different person with your daughter, with your children, and maybe she can look at you and say she don't even know her grandchildren. Maybe she can see that and be like, man, look at the God,
Man, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful, Brother Gazi. Dang, you just laid a lot on me because I really was like, I basically just go around just saying I don't have any parents.
Yeah. And that's pain. It's understandable. Like Tamara said earlier, Tamara Threat said earlier about that pain. It's understandable because pain is real and hurt is real. Yeah. And you can't fake that, but it got to be confronted. You don't have to ignore it. You got to confront it. You got to deal with it, and then ask God why. Like why did you permit me to go through that right there? Why me? And if you ask with the right heart and the right intention, you'd be surprised what the answer is because I need you. I need to put that pressure on you because you're a diamond woman. I need to put some hella pressure on you and put you all the way up under that pressure because you're gonna shine at the end. I need you. I need your mama to do it. I need your daddy to do it. I need all these elements to put that pressure on you. Because Tayla X, you a diamond, damn it. I want you to shine tomorrow. I want you to bling bling so the world can see. Look at my glory.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy that the journey that I'm on. At one point, I think I might have told you this, Brother Gazi. At one point, I didn't trust or believe in God at all. Like,
no, you never told me that.
What'd you say?
No, you never told me that. That's amazing.
I was an atheist. Yes, I was calling I wasn't an atheist, but I was calling myself an atheist because of everything that I went through. And also because my mother is such a religious woman, I guess. So it kind of turned me off of religion because I'm seeing you take me to all these different churches while you're still not even really a good person. So it really it turned me off of trusting and believing the path. So this journey that I'm on right now is something that's so completely new to me. And I'm just accepting and submitting to everything now. Like, just use me because I'm here. And I'm sorry that I even was that crazy to even think that this wasn't something that was divine. Like, it's crazy.
That's beautiful. I feel it. And it's a beautiful story right there. And, we thank you, my sister, like deeply for, sharing your story. And, we hope that, the listening audience got lessons up out of this. And just know that, we all go through pain, fam. We all going through something. We all going through some kind of pain. And sometimes that pain hurts the hell out of us. And sometimes it's hard for us to get through that pain and see things in its proper perspective, in its proper light. But we have to do it, though. We have to do it. Let me see. Still Messi man say a mother by nature has the capacity to love. However, she may deny it to herself. Her connection to that which grew in her that makes an undeniable connection. That is real. So many mothers deny themselves, for their children. And, mamas, salute to the mothers out there. You know, Mother's Day, damn it, is every day. We're not gonna do it in just May. We're gonna honor the mothers every day, all day. You know, we're gonna honor the mothers. And you know, one thing I think about, you know, when it comes to our parents, is that these were the vessels that God used to bring our little raggedy behind in existence. It would not, we would not be here if it wasn't for that particular woman that we might not like, or that particular man that we don't know or like. We may, but we wouldn't be here. And since we are here, since they was the vessels that God used to bring me into existence, I'm gonna love and honor that forever. If I don't like what they did, now it's on me to correct it then. It's on me to perfect it then. It's on me to improve it then, and to be a better example than they were to me, to the next generation, right? Then it's my task then to do better by my children and the future generation than they did by me. But I respect them because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So,
yeah, true.
What kind of closing words would you give to people who are going through pain and hurt, and you know how you cope with it? Because you still going through it. You ain't completely out of the, you know, out of the woodwork, but you're going through it though. And now you back in alignment. You know, you didn't believe in God at one time. Now you believe in God. You know, you, when I met you, you seemed a very spiritual sister. You seem like you know, really growing. Like, you know, you're a true testament of God ain't through with me yet. You know,
Yes.
judgment, God ain't through with me yet, right? We all are, right? So,
Yeah.
what would you say to any person, male or female, that may be going through something? You know, how to cope, how to endure, and how to find purpose in it.
Well, I would say that the first step for me on the journey was to stop numbing myself, because in order to find purpose in it, you got to actually be present in yourself, and actually be able to witness the stuff that you're going through. That's the first step of dealing with it. These conversations help so much. So don't feel like holding it in is being strong, because I didn't know what strong was until I started letting this stuff out. Having somebody else to share it with, like how they always say that Black people need a therapist, but what is a therapist but somebody to talk to? It's a community, it's your village. That's what it really should be. We could do these things with each other. So I definitely thank the ABS tribe for that, because even when I wasn't ready, they had a platform that's ready when you are. Because when I was going through that phase where I just lost my dad, I was very quiet on those calls. I was listening in and out, but I was just so hurt that I couldn't speak up. I didn't have anything to say. And but yet those platforms was there and ready for me when you're ready. So I think that don't numb it, don't try to mask it with these different drugs and things. Let's just deal with it head on, because it's only going to prolong the issues.
Right. Wow. Powerful, powerful, powerful. And we praying for you, and we praying for mom, you know, for healing and reconciliation and atonement, because it ain't nothing like it in the absolute world. You know, when you get to that point of atonement, real atonement and reconciliation, that connection gonna be powerful. And you would definitely benefit, your children would benefit, and our world would benefit, you know, our community. So we thank you, my sister. You have a powerful story. You're a powerful young sister, and keep doing what you're doing, helping them mothers, you know, get their connection right with the babies. And we appreciate you, sister.
Man, I appreciate you. Thank you for bringing me on.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you all for listening, all those who joined us. If you missed this or you're getting on late, go back and listen to this replay. Share this message. This sister got this a powerful story. And, you know, she brought a lot of issues that a lot of us deal with that, you know, we don't want to confront, we don't want to face, and we have not overcome. So thank you all for listening. We respect and love you all. You all have a blessed one.
Peace.